They tormented the alien girl for sport, until one human stood in her place. The prison ship Drakkar drifted through the cold emptiness of space, a massive vessel of metal and misery. Inside its hull, countless beings from across the galaxy suffered under the cruel rule of the Drax Empire. Among them was Naira, a slender alien with purple skin that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light of her cell. She cowered in the corner as the cell door hissed open. 3 Drax guards entered, their scaled bodies towering over her small frame. Their yellow eyes narrowed with cruel pleasure. "Time for entertainment, little empath," the lead guard said, his forked tongue flicking between razor-sharp teeth. Naira did not resist as they dragged her out into the common area. She had learned that fighting only made things worse. The other prisoners, various species captured from across the galaxy, turned away. None dared to help. The Drax had broken their spirits long ago. "Please," Naira whispered, her large silver eyes filling with tears. "I've done nothing wrong." The lead guard laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the metal walls. "Wrong? Right? These don't matter to the Drax Empire. We are the strongest species in the galaxy. Your weakness is entertainment for us." He struck her across the face, sending her sprawling to the floor. The other prisoners winced but remained silent. This had become a daily ritual aboard the Drakkar, the beating of the last Empathian in existence. The guard lifted Naira by her throat. "Your kind was always too weak to survive in this galaxy. Soon you will be extinct. But first, you will entertain us." The second blow came harder than the first. Naira cried out, her voice high and musical even in pain. The Drax enjoyed that, the unique sound of an Empathian's suffering. They said it was like music. The commander of the ship entered the common area, his scales darker and more ornate than the others. The guards immediately stood straighter. "Commander Zyrax," they greeted with respect. Commander Zyrax observed the scene with cold interest. "I see today's entertainment has started. Good. But pause for now. We have new arrivals." The main doors to the common area slid open. A line of new prisoners stumbled in, chained together and pushed forward by more guards. Most looked broken already, heads bowed in defeat. Except for one. A human male walked with his back straight, his eyes alert and scanning the room. He was not particularly large or imposing by galactic standards. Humans were still considered a primitive species, only recently discovered by the wider galactic community. Yet something about him seemed different from the other new captives. "Humans," Commander Zyrax spat the word like it was dirty. "The newest vermin in our galaxy. Put them in the empty cells in Block 4. The human's eyes locked onto Naira, noticing the bruises forming on her purple skin and the blood trickling from her lip. For a brief moment, something flashed across his face, anger, perhaps, or determination. But it vanished quickly as a guard shoved him forward. "Move, human filth," the guard growled. The human stumbled but regained his balance. "My name is Jack," he said in a calm, steady voice. "Jack Anderson." The guard struck him with the butt of his weapon. "Your name is Prisoner 7392, human. Nothing more." Jack said nothing else, but his eyes found Naira's again before he was pushed through the door leading to the cell blocks. Commander Zyrax turned back to Naira on the floor. "Continue the entertainment. The new arrivals should learn quickly what happens to those who displease the Drax." The guards resumed their beating, more vicious than before. Naira curled into a ball, trying to protect herself from the worst of the blows. Through tear-filled eyes, she noticed that most of the prisoners had turned away, all except the human named Jack, who watched from the doorway before being forced into the cell block. 3 days passed. Life on the prison ship followed its brutal routine. Naira was beaten each day in the common area as a reminder to all prisoners of Drax's superiority. Jack observed from the edges, saying nothing but watching everything. On the 4th day, something changed. The guards threw Naira to the floor as usual. But before the first blow could land, a voice rang out. Is this how the mighty Dracs show their strength? By beating someone who can't fight back. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Jack, who had stepped forward from the crowd. The lead guard hissed in anger. This is not your concern, human. I'm just curious, Jack said, his tone conversational despite the tension in the air. I've heard the Dracs are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. But all I've seen is 3 armed guards beating a girl half their size. The commander, who had been observing from his usual spot, laughed. The human has spirit. Foolish, but amusing. He approached Jack slowly. You are new to the galaxy, human. You do not understand your place yet. The Empathians were a weak species. This one is the last. We keep her alive only for entertainment. Jack's eyes narrowed slightly. The last of her kind. Her world was uncooperative with Drax expansion, Commander Zyrax said with a cruel smile. Now it serves as an outpost. She serves as a reminder of what happens to those who resist. Jack's face remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I see. The commander studied him with new interest. Perhaps you need a demonstration of your place in the galactic order. He nodded to the guards. After you finish with the Empathian, teach the human about Drax's strength. The guards grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. Jack was pushed back into the crowd as they resumed their beating of Naira. Later, in the darkness of his cell, Jack listened to the quiet sobbing from the cell next to his. The walls were thick, but sound carried strangely through the old metal ship. Naira, he whispered, pressing closer to the wall. The sobbing stopped. How do you know my name? Came the soft reply. I heard the guards. I'm Jack. A pause. Why did you speak up today? They will hurt you now. Jack smiled in the darkness. They were going to do that anyway. He hesitated. Are you really the last of your kind? Yes, Naira's voice was barely audible. The Dracs destroyed my world 6 cycles ago. They keep me alive because they enjoy my pain. My people were empaths, we feel the emotions of others. They find it amusing. I'm sorry, Jack said. Your pity will not help either of us, Naira replied. Tomorrow they will beat me again. And now they will beat you too. Maybe, Jack said. But things don't always go as the Dracs plan. What do you mean? Jack was quiet for a moment. Humans are new to your galaxy, right? Yes. Your kind was discovered only 2 cycles ago. Then the Dracs don't know much about us yet, Jack said. They think we're weak because we're not as physically strong or technologically advanced. Aren't you? Naira asked. Jack's soft laugh echoed in the darkness. Humanity survived on Earth by outlasting things stronger and faster than us. We're good at surprising our enemies. For the first time in years, Naira felt something she had almost forgotten, a tiny spark of hope. Get some rest, Jack whispered. Tomorrow will be difficult. As silence fell between them, Jack closed his eyes but did not sleep. Instead, he carefully examined the lock mechanism on his cell door, memorizing its design. In the quiet darkness, he began to plan. Morning arrived on the prison ship Drakkar with the harsh buzz of the cell block lights. Jack opened his eyes, already alert. He had slept little, his mind busy with plans and possibilities. The cell doors slid open automatically. Prisoners shuffled out for the morning meal, a gray paste that tasted like nothing but kept them alive. Jack stepped into the corridor and immediately looked for Naira. She limped from her cell, purple skin marked with fresh bruises. Their eyes met briefly before she lowered her gaze. A public connection between them would only bring more trouble. In the mess hall, prisoners sat at long metal tables. Species were segregated, Drax policy to prevent alliances. Jack sat with the few other humans aboard the ship, mostly traders and explorers who had ventured too far into Drax territory. "You made a mistake yesterday," whispered Torin, an older human with a gray beard. "Don't draw attention to yourself here." Jack took a spoonful of the bland paste. "What do you know about the purple girl?" "The Empathian?" Torin glanced nervously at the guards. "Naira? Stay away from her. The Drax use her as bait sometimes. Anyone who helps her gets special punishment." "She's the last of her kind," Jack said quietly. "Yes. And soon she'll be gone too. That's how it works here." Torin leaned closer. "Listen, you're new. Focus on surviving. The Drax transfer human prisoners to labor camps after a few months. Those who cause trouble stay here forever." Jack nodded but said nothing more. His eyes drifted to where Naira sat alone, no other Empathians to keep her company. 3 days passed. Jack kept his distance from Naira in public but whispered to her through the cell wall each night. He learned about her world, a peaceful planet of empaths who had refused to provide the Drax with psychic weapons. The Drax had responded by bombing the planet into dust. On the 4th day, Jack managed to position himself near Naira during the exercise period, a brief time when prisoners walked in circles around the large common area under heavy guard. "Can you really feel others' emotions?" he asked quietly as they passed each other. Naira kept her eyes forward. "Yes. My people could connect with others. Share feelings, ease pain. Can you still do that?" She hesitated. "Somewhat. The Drax put a suppression collar on me. It limits my abilities." Jack nodded slightly. "Do the guards ever remove it?" "Only the commander has the key." "Why do you ask such dangerous questions?" Before Jack could answer, a large reptilian prisoner bumped into him deliberately. "Watch where you walk, human," the alien growled. It was a Krat, a species known for their strength and alliance with the Drax. Jack raised his hands. "No trouble." The Krat leaned closer. "I saw you talking to the Empathian. The guards pay well for information about who helps her." Other prisoners moved away, sensing conflict. The guards watched with interest but didn't intervene. "I was just walking," Jack said calmly. The Krat smiled, showing jagged teeth. "Tonight the guards will ask what you talked about." Jack's expression didn't change. "Tell them whatever you want." The Krat seemed disappointed by Jack's lack of fear. It shoved him hard and moved on. That evening, as expected, guards came for Jack. They dragged him from his cell to a small, windowless room. Commander Zyrax waited inside, yellow eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Prisoner 7392, the commander said. "I'm curious about you, human. Your species is new to us. Still finding your place in the galactic order." Jack stood straight, hands at his sides. "We're adaptable. So I've observed." The commander circled him slowly. "You've taken interest in our Empathian. Why?" "She seems to be treated differently than other prisoners." Commander Zyrax laughed. "Direct. Interesting." He stopped in front of Jack. "Let me educate you about galactic politics, human. Some species serve, some rule. The Drax rule because we are strongest. Empathians refuse to serve, now they are extinct, except for our little pet." "And humans?" Jack asked. "Your kind." The commander's tongue flicked between his teeth. "Still to be determined. Your home world is far away, primitive. But you spread quickly. Like vermin." Jack said nothing. "I could kill you now," the commander continued. "No one would question it." "But you won't," Jack said. Commander Zyrax tilted his head. "Oh. Why not?" "Because you're curious. You want to understand humans better." The commander stared at him for a long moment, then laughed. Perhaps you're not as stupid as you look. He moved to the door. Take him back to his cell. For now. As the guards led Jack away, the commander called after him, stay away from the empathian, human. She won't survive much longer anyway. That night, Jack lay in his cell staring at the ceiling. Are you there? Naira's soft voice came through the wall. Yes, he answered. What did they do to you? Just talked. The commander wanted to scare me. Naira was quiet for a moment. You should listen to him. Stay away from me. Why? Everyone who tries to help me suffers, she said. 3 prisoners before you showed kindness. All died in accidents. Jack turned toward the wall. Tell me about your abilities. How does your empathic power work? Naira sighed. Why do you ask such things? It only brings pain. I'm curious, Jack said. Humans don't have abilities like that. After a long pause, Naira answered. We connect with others. Feel what they feel. Share emotions, memories sometimes. With practice, we can send feelings to others. Even with the collar. Weakly, at close range. Her voice became softer. When they beat me, sometimes I can sense the guards' emotions. They enjoy causing pain. It makes the physical hurt worse, feeling their pleasure at my suffering. Jack closed his eyes, imagining the horror of such an experience. I'm sorry. Why do you care about me? Naira asked suddenly. We are strangers. Different species. Jack was quiet for a long moment. On Earth, we have a saying, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Your species sounds strange, Naira said. The galaxy doesn't work that way. Maybe it should, Jack replied. Their conversation was interrupted by the heavy footsteps of guards. The cell block door opened, and several Dracs entered. Special entertainment tonight, one announced loudly. Commander's orders. They stopped at Naira's cell. The door slid open, and rough hands pulled her out. All prisoners to the common area, the guard shouted. Attendance is mandatory. Jack felt his stomach tighten as he was escorted from his cell. Whatever was about to happen, it wouldn't be good. In the common area, prisoners formed a circle under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Commander Zyrak stood in the center, Naira kneeling beside him. Tonight we have special entertainment, the commander announced. Our empathian pet needs a reminder of her place. He smiled coldly. And our human guests need a lesson in Drak's authority. He pulled Naira to her feet by her hair. She winced but made no sound. Who will volunteer to administer punishment? The commander asked his guards. Before any could step forward, a voice cut through the silence. I'll take her place. All eyes turned to Jack as he stepped into the circle. What did you say, human? Commander Zyrax asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Jack met his gaze steadily. Whatever punishment you planned for her, give it to me instead. A murmur ran through the crowd of prisoners. No one had ever done such a thing before. The commander's face showed surprise, then amusement. Interesting. He looked around at the gathered prisoners and guards. It seems we have a volunteer for tonight's entertainment. Naira's silver eyes widened in horror as she realized what Jack had done. A stunned silence fell over the common area. Jack stood tall in the center of the circle, his eyes fixed on Commander Zyrax. The other prisoners whispered among themselves, shocked by the human's unexpected offer. No, Naira whispered, her silver eyes wide with fear. Please, don't do this. Commander Zyrax's scaled face showed amusement. How noble. He circled Jack slowly, studying him. You understand what you're volunteering for, human? I do, Jack replied calmly. The commander laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the metal walls. Very well. This will be educational for everyone. He addressed the crowd. Today we learn if humans are as weak as they appear. Two guards seized Jack by the arms while another pushed Naira to the edge of the circle. She struggled briefly. Jack, don't. They'll kill you. A guard struck her across the face. Silence. Jack's jaw tightened at the sight, but he remained still as the guard secured his wrists to a metal post in the center of the room. They tore his shirt away, exposing his back. Commander Zyrax took a whip-like device from a guard. It hummed with energy, not just a physical weapon, but one designed to stimulate pain receptors directly. This punishment was designed for the Empathian, he explained loudly for all to hear. Her kind are particularly sensitive to this device. Let's see how a human endures it. The first strike landed across Jack's back. His body jerked from the impact, but he made no sound. The energy whip left an angry red line that immediately began to bleed. Interesting, the commander said. Again. The second strike crossed the first. Jack's hands clenched into fists, but still he remained silent. By the fifth strike, prisoners were watching in amazement. Most would have been screaming by now. The human has some resistance, Commander Zyrax noted. Increase the power. The guard adjusted a dial on the handle of the whip. The next strike made Jack gasp, his knees buckling momentarily before he forced himself upright again. Across the room, Naira felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a connection. Despite the suppression collar, she could sense Jack's pain. But there was something else too, something that confused her. Beneath the pain was purpose. Determination. Jack wasn't just enduring, he was measuring the guards, noting their positions, studying Commander Zyrax's movements. The commander grew frustrated as the punishment continued. 20 lashes now, and while Jack's back was a mess of blood and torn flesh, he had not begged for mercy. Not once had he screamed. Enough games, Commander Zyrax snarled. Maximum power. The guard hesitated. Sir, maximum is designed for execution. Do it. The whip's energy field glowed brighter. The next strike dropped Jack to his knees, a grunt of pain finally escaping his lips. Better, the commander said. Again. 3 more strikes at maximum power. Jack's consciousness began to fade, dark spots swimming before his eyes. His body sagged against the restraints. Across the room, Naira felt his pain as if it were her own. Without thinking, she reached out with her mind, pushing through the collar's suppression. Jack, she called silently. I'm here. You're not alone. To her surprise, she felt him respond. His mind touched hers, weak but determined. Listen carefully, his thoughts came to her. Tomorrow. Be ready. Before she could ask what he meant, Commander Zyrax stepped forward. It seems humans have some endurance after all, he announced. But everyone breaks eventually. He grabbed Jack's hair, pulling his head up to look at his face. Jack's eyes were unfocused, blood trickling from his mouth where he had bitten his lip to keep from screaming. Any last words before the final strike, human? The commander asked. Jack's lips moved, his voice barely audible. The commander leaned closer to hear. You made a mistake, Jack whispered. Commander Zyrax frowned. What mistake? Jack's eyes suddenly focused, staring directly into the commander's. Underestimating humans. The commander stepped back, unsettled by the intensity in Jack's gaze despite his broken body. Finish him, he ordered the guard. The final strike hit with devastating force. Jack's body convulsed once, then went completely limp. He hung from the restraints, blood pooling beneath him. Take the body to disposal, Commander Zyrax ordered. Let this be a lesson to all prisoners. Resistance is pointless, sacrifice meaningless. As guards cut Jack down, his body crumpled to the floor. One checked for life signs. No pulse, Commander. The human is dead. Naira felt something break inside her. For the first time since her capture, she screamed, a sound of pure anguish that made several prisoners cover their ears. Her empathic abilities flared beyond the caller's suppression, broadcasting her grief to everyone in the room. Even the Drax guard stepped back, momentarily overwhelmed by the emotional wave. "Take her back to her cell," Commander Zyrax ordered, his voice less confident than before. "And dispose of the human's body." The guards dragged Jack's limp form away, leaving a trail of blood across the floor. Naira was returned to her cell, where she collapsed in the corner, weeping. Hours passed in darkness. The prisoners were quiet that night, the usual whispers and soft crying absent. What they had witnessed had shaken even the most hardened among them. In her cell, Naira sat with her knees pulled to her chest, eyes swollen from crying. She had felt Jack die. The connection between them had severed in an instant. Why had he done it? Why sacrifice himself for her? Humans were strange, but this made no sense. And what had he meant by his final thoughts to her? Tomorrow. Be ready. Ready for what? He was gone. A strange sound pulled her from her thoughts, a soft mechanical whirring. She looked up to see her cell door mechanism turning slowly. The lock disengaged with a quiet click. Her heart began to race. Was this a trick? Had the commander decided to punish her further for the emotional outburst? The door slid open a few inches. Naira backed into the corner, afraid of what might come through. A shadow fell across the opening. A figure slipped inside, closing the door behind them. "We don't have much time," a familiar voice whispered. Naira gasped. "Jack." "How?" Jack pressed a finger to his lips, silencing her. He looked terrible, pale and weak, his body hunched in pain. But very much alive. "I need your help," he whispered, kneeling beside her. "Can you use your abilities to sense if guards are nearby?" Naira stared at him in shock. "You died. I felt you die." Jack shook his head. "Humans have a technique called playing dead. I slowed my heart rate enough that their sensors couldn't detect it." He winced as the movement pulled at the wounds on his back. "The guards took me to the disposal unit instead of the medical bay. Exactly what I needed." "But why? What are you doing?" Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. "This is a transmitter. I had it hidden in my body before I was captured." He grimaced. "Getting it out wasn't pleasant, but I needed access to the ship's external hull to attach it. The disposal unit has an airlock." Naira's mind raced to understand. "You planned this? The punishment?" "I needed them to think I was dead," Jack explained. "And I needed to get to a part of the ship where I could send a signal." He took her hand. "Now I need your help to get to the command center." "That's impossible," Naira whispered. "Even if I could sense guard positions, we'd never get there." "And your injuries?" Jack cut her off. "Tomorrow morning, human ships will arrive. I've called for help." Naira stared at him in disbelief. "Human ships? Here? In Drax space?" "We're not as primitive as the Drax think," Jack said with a pained smile. "But they'll need access to the ship's defense systems." For the first time in years, Naira felt hope, real hope. But fear quickly followed. "If you're caught." "I won't be," Jack assured her. "But I need your empathic abilities. Can you do it? Can you help me navigate to the command center?" Naira looked at Jack, bloodied, injured, yet somehow still fighting. She straightened her shoulders and nodded. "I'll try." The dim emergency lights of the night cycle cast long shadows in the corridors of the Drakkar. Jack moved slowly, each step sending waves of pain through his body. Beside him, Naira concentrated, her eyes half closed as she extended her empathic senses beyond the suppression collar's limitations. "2 guards," she whispered. One level up, moving away from us. Jack nodded. They pressed forward, staying close to the walls. His plan was risky, almost impossible, but it was their only chance. How did you know? Naira asked as they paused at an intersection. That I could sense through the collar. I didn't, Jack admitted. But I've noticed you react to emotions before they're visible. The way you flinch before a guard strikes, how you move away from angry prisoners. Naira looked surprised. You were watching me that carefully. I noticed things, Jack said simply. He checked a panel on the wall. 3 more levels to the command center. We'll never make it, Naira said. Even if we reach it, the command center is always staffed. Jack smiled grimly. That's counting on normal operations. But in about 5 minutes, things won't be normal anymore. As if on cue, a distant boom shook the ship. Alarms began blaring throughout the corridors. What was that? Naira gasped. I didn't just send a distress signal, Jack explained as they continued moving. I also accessed the waste disposal controls. Several compartments just experienced explosive decompression. You damaged the ship? Naira asked, horrified. Far from any prisoner cells, Jack assured her. But the Dracs will be busy with emergency protocols. They reached a maintenance ladder and began climbing. Jack's face contorted with pain as the movement pulled at his wounds, but he didn't slow down. Jack, Naira said quietly. Why are you doing this? Why risk everything for me? For prisoners you don't even know. Jack paused, looking down at her. Because it's what humans do. He continued climbing. At least, it's what we're supposed to do. Commander Zyrak stormed into the command center, his scales darkened with rage. Report, he demanded. A nervous officer turned from the console. Multiple hull breaches in waste disposal sector. Emergency containment has sealed off the areas, but systems are failing throughout the ship. Cause? The officer hesitated. Unknown, sir. Possibly a malfunction, but... But what? Zyrak snarled. The timing and pattern suggest deliberate sabotage. The commander's eyes narrowed. Check prisoner status. All cells. The officer's claws flew over the controls. All accounted for except. His voice faltered. Except. Cell 219. The Empathian female. Her door shows unlocked. Commander Zyrax went very still. And the human's body? Where was it taken? Another officer checked the logs. Disposal Unit 7, sir. The same area where the explosion started, Zyrax said softly. His yellow eyes glowed with fury. The human lives. Find them both. Now. Jack and Naira reached the service duct that ran directly above the command center. Through a small vent, they could see Drax officers moving frantically between stations. Now what? Naira whispered. Jack pulled a small device from his pocket, a makeshift tool he had assembled from parts scavenged in the disposal unit. This will override the main console, he explained. But I need to get closer. Below them, Commander Zyrax's voice came through clearly, lock down all sections. I want every guard searching for the escaped prisoners. Jack turned to Naira. I need a distraction. Naira's silver eyes widened. What can I do? Your empathic abilities, Jack said. You broadcast your grief when you thought I died. Can you do something similar now? Create emotional confusion. Naira touched the suppression collar. Through this? I don't know. Try, Jack urged. Focus on fear. Make them feel what prisoners feel every day. Naira closed her eyes, concentrating. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then her body began to tremble, the collar emitting small sparks as she pushed against its limitations. In the command center below, a Drax officer suddenly dropped to his knees, hissing in distress. Another backed away from his console, looking around wildly. Commander Zyrax himself gripped the edge of a table, his scaled face showing confusion. "What is happening?" he demanded. Jack didn't waste the opportunity. He slid from the duct into the command center, landing behind a large terminal. Despite his injuries, he moved with purpose, connecting his device to the main system. Commander Zyrax sensed movement and turned. "The human," he roared, fighting through the wave of fear Naira was projecting. "Kill him." The few officers able to function raised their weapons. Jack worked frantically, fingers flying over the controls. A warning shot scorched the wall beside his head. Above, Naira pushed harder, her mind reaching beyond the collar's limitations. Blood trickled from her nose with the effort, but the emotional wave intensified. More Drax fell to their knees, overwhelmed by terror not their own. Jack finished the sequence just as Commander Zyrax fought through the emotional assault and lunged for him. The commander's clawed hand closed around Jack's throat, lifting him off the ground. "I killed you once," Zyrax hissed. "I will enjoy doing it again." Jack smiled through bloodied lips. Too late. The ship's warning system activated. Alert. Defense systems deactivated. External vessels approaching. Commander Zyrax's eyes widened. He threw Jack aside and rushed to the viewport. In the distance, several ships had appeared from hyperspace, sleek, advanced vessels unlike any the Drax had encountered before. "Human ships," Jack said, pulling himself up against a console. "Not as primitive as you thought." "Impossible," Zyrax whispered. "Human worlds are sectors away." "We're full of surprises," Jack said. He reached up and activated the ship's communication system. "This is Jack Anderson, Special Operations, Earth Defense Force. I've secured the prison ship Drakkar. Standing by for boarding." The response came immediately. "Copy that, Agent Anderson. Hold position. Boarding teams inbound." Commander Zyrax turned to Jack, seeing him with new eyes. "You're not a traitor. You're military." "I volunteered for this mission," Jack said. "We've been tracking Drax prison ships for months, looking for an opportunity." "One human," Zyrax said with disbelief. "One human infiltrated our most secure vessel." "That's what you never understood about humans," Jack said. "Our strength isn't in our bodies. It's in what we're willing to do for others." Within an hour, the Drakkar was under human control. Special Forces teams moved efficiently through the ship, securing sections and freeing prisoners. Medical personnel treated the injured, including Jack and Naira. In the ship's medical bay, Naira sat beside Jack's bed. Human doctors had treated his wounds and removed her suppression collar. "Your people came so far," she said, still amazed. "Just to free prisoners?" Jack nodded. "Partly. But also to send a message to the Drax Empire." "What message?" "That humanity protects the innocent," Jack said. "All innocent beings, not just humans." A medical officer approached them. "Agent Anderson, we've completed the prisoner census. Over 300 beings from 27 different species freed." "And the Drax?" Jack asked. "In custody. Including Commander Zyrax." After the officer left, Naira touched Jack's hand gently. "What happens now?" "To me? I have no home, no people." Jack smiled. "Earth has already granted asylum to all freed prisoners who want it." He hesitated. "Including you, if you'd like to come." "To Earth? But I know nothing about humans or your world." "You know more than you think," Jack said softly. "You felt what I felt. You know what drives us." Naira was quiet for a moment, remembering the emotions she had sensed from Jack: determination, compassion, and something else she hadn't recognized at first. "Hope," she said finally. Even in darkness, you never lost hope. Jack nodded. That's humanity's real strength. And now, it can be yours too. From the viewport beside them, they could see the Drax prison ship being escorted by the human fleet. Ahead lay a future neither of them had imagined possible just days before, a future where the weak could stand against the strong, where sacrifice brought freedom, and where one person's courage could change everything. For the first time since the destruction of her world, Naira smiled, a real smile that reached her silver eyes. Yes, she said. I would like to see Earth.